So good morning. I'm Sherry Prupus. I work at the System Office as Director of Teaching and Learning with Technology. Many of you I've seen in other sessions. It's so nice to see you back again and to have with us Surbi and our magician behind the screen, Nitesh. And I want to remind you, for those of you who like to listen and look at the closed caption on the bottom of your screen, you may need to click more if you don't see it. There's a button that says CC or captions. If you turn that on, you will have closed captions while we're working. We don't have the chat open, but we have the question and answer. So same thing, if you don't see it right away, go to the More button and click on Q&A, and that's where we're going to ask you to put in all your comments. When the session is over, we will tomorrow we will share out the recording with you, and a little later on we will share any outstanding questions, the FAQs, with you. And I'm asking, if rather than raising hand, because there's so many of you, to please put your questions in the questions and answers. But let me turn this over to Surbi because we have a filled agenda for today. Surbi?
Thanks, Sherry. Hi, everyone. A very good morning and welcome back to our fourth session of Accessibility Series. So if you have been following along, we've already covered Introduction to Accessibility, images, videos, and multimedia. And today we are shifting focus to the everyday content that we create. That might be your department or program homepage in the Canvas platform. It could be a weekly campus or department announcement, an email to a student or faculty, or even just updates to event information or office communications. So this session is about on-page content accessibility, but really it is all about how we write and organize our content so that it is easier for everyone to read, navigate, and understand. By the time we are done today, you will have a handful of simple practical tips to help make your pages cleaner, easier to follow, and definitely more accessible for all. So let's see, what do we cover today? Next slide, please. Today, we are going to give your content a bit of a tune-up. Nothing overwhelming, just simple adjustments that can improve the experience for your students and colleagues. We'll begin with visual layout, that is how your page is organized and how content flows. Then we will look at fonts and readability, making sure your text is clear and easy to follow. After that, we will cover color and contrast so that your content stays accessible to everyone, including those with visual challenges. We'll also go over headings and structure, which are key for helping both sighted users as well as people with disabilities and using assistive technology to understand how your content is organized. And then we will dive into writing descriptive links, the kind that makes sense even when taken out of content. We'll also talk about lists, paragraphs, tables, using it in the right way that keeps everything readable and accessible. Right after that, we've got a quick demo to show you how a well-structured document looks in action and why it matters so much. Finally, we will wrap up with a quick tools and resources that you can use to check your content's accessibility, followed by the Q&A at the end. All of this will help to ensure that your materials are easier to navigate and understand by everyone. So let's see and get started. To start with layout and visual flow. Next slide, please. So when we talk about visual layout, we're actually talking about how a page looks and feels the moment someone's open it. So it is that first impression how the content is arranged, and how easy it is for someone to find what they really need. In simple terms, visual layout is how the page appears to viewers and readers. So it is the overall structure that how text or images and other elements come together to create a smooth, easier experience for everyone. Now, a good way to think about it is by asking a few questions to yourself. What kind of content is on the page? How much content is there? How is that content arranged or grouped? And finally, how does the design vary from one page to another? All of these things work together to shape how people experience your content or any material that you create. Let's take an example here. Imagine two pages where the first one is just a wall of text, long, lengthy paragraphs, no spacing, no headings, or no sections divided within the text. Basically nothing to guide your eyes. It can feel very overwhelming. I mean, most of you might not even feel like reading it, right? Now, picture another page where the text is broken up into short sections with clear headings, maybe a few visuals and plenty of white space. So there is room for your eyes to rest, and the whole thing just feels lighter and easier to follow. Which one would you rather read? Most of us would definitely pick the second one, not because it is prettier, but because it is easier to
Nitesh, next
understand.
slide, please.
Are we in? Okay, we're in the right slide. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So definitely we'll pick the second one because it is easier to understand. And that is really what good visual layout is all about. Not just design for the sake of design, but design that helps people process information comfortably. A thoughtful layout also gives reader a bit of breathing room, especially for those who take in information a little slow or differently, or even those who rely on visual cues. And it also matters a lot when viewing content on smaller screens like mobile or tablets, where people scroll line to line. That is why clear structure and spacing makes a big difference. So a good visual layout is not just about how your page looks like, it is about making your content easier to read, easy to navigate, and comfortable to absorb. Now that we have a sense of what visual layout really means, let us take a look at why it matters so much in creating accessible and engaging content. Next slide, please. Just to cross check, are we in slide 4 now?
Yes. Slide
Okay,
5,
great.
fonts and reliability.
No, I want you to be in slide 4. Why visual layout matters.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So we discussed what is visual layout. While it might seem like a small thing, but it actually makes a huge difference in how people read and understand your content. Even little design choices can completely change how easy it is for someone to follow along. The big idea here is to keep things very simple and uncluttered. Here goes the first one. Do not be afraid of white spaces. It is not empty space, rather, it is a breathing room for readers to go through. It helps guide the reader's eyes and give their brain a chance to pause and take in what they are seeing. Another easy tip is to align your text to the left. It might sound tiny, but it really helps with readability, especially when text is centered or justified. The spacing can throw people off, especially for anyone who struggles with reading or focusing. Left aligned text create a steady rhythm so that your eyes naturally flows from line to line. Try to stick with one column of text or at most two. So multiple columns might look interesting in a document, but they can get really confusing both for sighted users as well as for people using assistive technology. Not only that, also on phones or tablets, multiple columns do not display well at all. Some more tips. Break up long sections rather than a lengthy paragraph. Use clear headings and subheadings, short list, or even visuals to make the page more approachable. Think of it like giving your reader a natural stopping point. That is, little mental breaks where they can catch up before moving on to the next line. For example, instead of one big announcement that looks like a wall of text, try splitting it up into smaller scannable parts. Something like what is due this week or reminders for next class. Need help here, how to reach out to me. Like you can divide it into multiple sections. Just those simple changes can make your content so much friendlier and easy to digest. So if you look at the slide, you would see the example on the left where there is a dense block of text that can be really tiring to read for everyone. Wherein on the right, you have clear headings, spaces between sections, and a layout that actually invites you to read. That is what the difference between a structured spacing and a cluttered document makes. A structured document helps everyone, not just people with visual challenges or learning difficulties. So in the end, visual layout is not just about making things look pretty, but when your content is easy to look at and easy to read, people can focus on the content instead of struggling to process what is actually on the screen. Next slide, please. Let's now talk about fonts because the font we choose can completely change how easy your content is to read. To show you what I mean, take a look at 3 examples on the slide. Each one uses a different font and style. As you glance at them, try to notice which one do you feel most comfortable to read or none of them. Most people will definitely pick simple, clean options, and that is exactly the point. Fonts like Arial, Calibri, Roboto, or Open Sans are much more easier on eyes, especially when reading on a screen, as they are less decorative and also called as sans serif fonts. On the other hand, decorative or cursive fonts might look creative, but they can quickly cause eyes strain and make reading more difficult, particularly for those with visual or cognitive challenges. The same goes for using all capital letters or long stretches of italics. They actually distort the shape of the text and slows readers down. Another important thing is to keep your font size comfortable, which is equally important as choosing the right font. So try to aim for at least 12 points for regular documents and 18 points or more for slides, and always try to align your text to the left. While centered text might appear tidy at a glance, it actually creates uneven starting points for each line, which makes it harder to follow and can confuse people using assistive technologies. A quick test that you can try is to open your content or any Canvas page on your phone. If you have to zoom in just to read it, that is a sign your font's size or layout needs a little adjustment. Next slide, please. Let's now talk about how much text to show at once, because when people read online specifically, they rarely read every single word, but they go through a quick scan. Even your most engaged readers are likely to scroll quickly rather than going word by word, just trying to spot the key points. That is why keeping your paragraphs short, around 3 to 5 sentences, makes a big difference, especially for students who use assistive tools or anyone who processes information a little differently. Make sure to add some spacing between paragraphs so that the page feels open and easy to follow. Use clear, simple language. We've also discussed this earlier. So instead of complicated words, use simple language that gets straight to the point. For example, instead of saying the objective of this task is to facilitate peer-to-peer engagement within the virtual learning environment, you could simply say this activity helps you collaborate with colleagues and share updates online. It delivers the same message, but in a way that feels friendlier and easier to process, and definitely works better for accessibility. A helpful way to think about is to imagine explaining your instructions or message to a colleague or student over a cup of coffee. That is a calm, direct, conversational tone that usually makes your writing more approachable and easier for everyone to understand. Next slide, please.
Surbi, just before you continue, 2 questions that apply right here. I don't know this font offhand, but do you know if Garamond, Garamond, is that an accessible font?
I don't know exactly the thing is, but
So we'll look,
if
okay.
it comes, if it comes under sans serif. So what a sans serif is, they are not decorative. They don't have usually these tailing cursive or tailing decoratives. If this is
so-
something like that, then it does not come
Okay,
into
so
accessible one.
Shannon, Maggie tells us that Garamond is, has serif, and so it is not an accessible font. Thank you. And then the other question, this one was an interesting one. The space between paragraphs, we get the point on that, but in email, don't you have to use an enter to make a space between paragraphs, or is that something we should check later in Outlook?
Yeah, we'll definitely check that later in Outlook.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're
Yeah.
we're up to all the questions.
Okay. So we are in slide 7 now. Okay. So now let's talk about designing for visual clarity, especially when it comes to color and contrast. I know we have repeatedly talked about it, but trust me, this is something very important. So color can definitely make your content more engaging, but it is also one of the easiest things to get wrong. The most important rule is to never ever rely on color alone to communicate any meaning or important information. It is also essential to check the contrast between your text and background, like light gray text on a white background or vice versa. So try to aim for strong contrast, like dark text on a light background or light text on a dark one. Also, try to avoid layering colors or adding shadows and gradients behind the text, since they tend to blur the edges and reduces readability for most of the people. A simple way to test your design is to print your slide or web page in grayscale. If everything still looks clear and easy to read, your contrast is definitely solid. In terms of accessibility guidelines, if we talk about contrast ratio, for a regular text under 18 points or any bold text under 14 points, the contrast ratio has to be at least 4.5:1. And for larger text that is larger than 18 points or bold text that is 14 points or larger, a contrast ratio of 3:1 works well. Same goes for images that contains important information as well. So if you look at the 2 pie charts on the slide, the one on the left shows student budget services distribution using a color legend and low contrast, while on the right-hand side, it includes clear labels, unexploded sections, higher contrast, and annotations that makes it easier to understand at a glance. So the difference here shows how thoughtful use of color as well as the contrast can transform a design from confusing to clear and accessible for everyone. Next slide, please. Now let's look at something a bit more technical, I would say, but incredibly important. That is semantic structure. You can think of semantic tags as invisible labels that quietly organize and give meaning to everything on the page, especially for people using assistive technology. They're what assistive technologies like screen readers use to understand and navigate the content. Imagine them as a signpost that helps a user build a mental map of your document. For example, a heading 1 tag can tell the user that this is the main title, while a heading 2 tag marks it as a new section. These I know we all know about giving it a right heading, putting it into lists, tables, but what we are talking here is about how rightly they need to be inbuilt, tagged in the document by using inbuilt features. Similarly, lists are tagged in each item and recognized individually only if they are tagged right in the document. Providing tables will help, but if they have right row headers, the data would be read correctly by the screen reader. And similarly for the links, if they have descriptive names, it tells users exactly where they are going. This is very different from just bolding a line of text or making it larger. When you bold something, you are only changing how it looks. But when you use a proper tag, like a heading tag, you are actually defining its role and purpose, which helps assistive technology users to navigate. Think of it like headings are like a store signs in a shopping mall. They help you know when you enter a new department. And similarly, lists are like an item in a grocery list. If not rightly arranged, you might miss on one item. Similarly, tables headers are like a menu in a restaurant where they tell you which column is drink and which is snacks, etc. And similarly to descriptive links, you can take it as a TV channel guide, which exactly tells you what you will see before you even select the channel. So these simple structures in documents act as a guidepost, helping everyone, especially those using screen readers and other assistive technology, to move through your content as easily as navigating a well-labeled store or any menu card. So accessibility tools actually understand these kind of structures, not just visual styles. And the great news is that programs like Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, Canvas automatically create these semantic tags when you use their built-in formatting tools, so that it takes no extra effort. You just need to use the proper styles rather than manually adjusting your font size or bolding text. To put it simply, semantic tags turn a visual layout into a meaningful layout, making your content easier to navigate and more accessibly, especially for people who are using screen readers and other assistive technologies. Next slide, please. So here comes the headings. So headings are actually the backbone of accessible and well-organized content. Think about what it feels like to scroll through a long 10-page employee handbook that has no heading at all, just a wall of text with no clear sections, stopping points, or anything. So this is how it becomes for a person using screen reader specifically, if you just bold to make it a heading or use different fonts or underline it instead of using the right heading tag. Now imagine that same handbook that we were talking about, dividing into clear sections with rightly heading tagged, like employee policies, leave policies, benefits, training requirement, contact information, etc. Suddenly the whole documents feel quite easier to follow and understandable. So that structure that helps you visually helps people with assistive technology only if you tag the right, if you rightly use the heading tags which are built in these Word documents. This structure helps everyone, not only people, actually not only people who use assistive technology, but also those who are scanning for information or just reviewing in a small screen. So when you use right tagged headings, it is important to apply them in a right hierarchy as well. So there should be only one single heading one in a page, usually which would be the main title, followed by heading 2 for major sections and heading 3 for any subsections within those. Try not to skip levels. So for example, do not jump straight from heading 2 to heading 4 because screen readers rely on that consistency in order to understand the document's hierarchy. And it helps to understand the relation between each sections. For example, you might have heading 1 as employee handbook, then heading 2 as a leave policy, and under heading 3, sick leaves. So it rightly arranges the hierarchy as well. In your content management tool, you can easily create headings by choosing them from the paragraph menu in the toolbar by selecting heading 2 or heading 3. That will automatically apply and give a correct structure to your document. What makes real headings so powerful is that they're not just about appearance. It actually creates a built-in navigation system that allows readers and assistive technologies to move content quickly and efficiently. So in short, headings turn your content from a flat block of text into a clear, well-structured experience for everyone. You'll definitely be getting a real-time scenario in our upcoming demo session for this. Next slide, please. Lists are one of the easiest way to make information clear and quick to absorb, but only if they are formatted correctly. It works the same for people using assistive technology. So the key is to always use built-in bullets or numbering tools in your program, whether that is Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, or Canvas. So it might be tempting to type your own dashes or asterisks, but screen readers do not recognize those as real lists items. If they're not tagged, it would not even identify as a list, rather than it would just read as a single sentence. So important information can get lost there for anyone who are relying on assistive technology. Use numbered list when you are describing a sequence of steps, and try to use bulleted list when you are sharing a collection of related points. For example, when creating a staff memo or outlining procedures, make sure to use built-in list styles for clarity instead of typing manual asterisks or dashes. Presenting that as a style list can help people quickly scan or jump between one list to another. Keeping your list simple also really matters. So try not to nest more than one level of sub-bullets, because multiple layers can become confusing both visually and for screen reader users. So make sure that it is not too multi-leveled. Consistency across your material is another important piece. That means using the same list throughout your memos, training guides, or resource documents. It can help people recognize instantly the instructions, steps, or the key points that you want to highlight. So if you look at the examples on the slide, you would see how a meeting note formatted with random symbols and uneven spaces feels messy and hard to navigate. While on the other hand, in staff memo, procedures, and professional development resources, it uses proper bullets and numbering that feels organized, readable, and accessible for everyone. So using inbuilt list tools almost take no extra effort, but it goes a long way in making content clearer and readable for everyone. Next slide, please. One of the most common accessibility issues that you come across is vague link text. So we have all seen phrases like click here, read more, or this link. But these do not actually tell anyone what the link is about or where that link leads to. Especially for a screen reader user, that is very frustrating because their device lists all the links on a page, they just hear a series of click here or read more with no context. To give you a real-time example, imagine you scrolling through a 200 plus channels on your television. If you select music, and the music channels are just listed as music 1, music 2, music 3, and so on. So imagine how frustrating that can be. Similarly, try to link text, like make your text descriptive enough to sense all by itself. For example, instead of saying click here for assignment details, you can just write view employee handbook, or instead of register here, you can say register for mandatory queue for budget planning session. So these small changes can make a big difference in trying to understand where the link leads to. It helps everyone actually to understand where link goes and what action will take them to. A simple trick to test your link is to mouse hover over it and ask yourself, if I only heard these words, would I know what to expect when I click it? If the answer is no, then definitely the link text needs to be updated and clarified. On this slide, you can see multiple examples, the difference between, for example, like more info, click here, versus stronger examples like download employees handbook, review new ADA compliance, register here for mandatory queue for budget, submit travel reimbursement form, etc. So clear descriptive links are not just about accessibility. I think it helps everyone scan the link easily and lets you know where it leads. It makes your content more professional, easy to navigate, and friendlier for every single reader. Next slide, please. Here comes the tables. So tables can be incredibly useful when used correctly, but they can also become frustrating and confusing if not set up properly. So it is really important to use tables strictly to organize data, not for controlling the layout or space of your page. So one common mistake is simply bolding the text to indicate the table headers. But instead, you should always use the built-in table tools to mark header rows and columns. So this will help screen reader users to understand the structure and read the table correctly. It will help them associate the column or row headers along with the data that is available in the table. Always make sure to avoid merging cells or leaving blank columns, because those can actually break the reading order and make the information hard to follow for anyone using assistive technology. So if you think that there is a cell which needs to be empty, you can actually put some data, like put some text there, like not applicable or empty cell or anything that helps the screen reader user understand that there is no data here. And if ineffective table will have merged cells, random empty spaces, and inconsistent alignment, which can make it very difficult to interpret. In contrast, an accessible table would have one clear header row with labels like staff recruiter, phone calls made, campus to read, even follow-ups, etc. No merged cells and a consistent alignment throughout the table. If you have a large or complex table such as one tracking staff outreach or event coordinating metrics, it is a good idea to add a brief description before the table. Something like the following table summarizes staff outreach and engagement metrics for the current semester. So this little information will help the user what to expect from the table even before they jump to the table data. Also, try to keep tables a little reasonable size, that is 5 to 7 columns wide, and avoid nesting tables inside one another. Instead, create single tables, because screen reader users would really struggle with nested tables in a document. So when tables are well designed and thoughtfully described, they become a powerful tool that makes data clear, accessible, and easy to understand for everyone. Next slide, please. Now let's see all of this in action with a quick demo. So this video will show you how headings, lists, links, tables, etc. actually behave when using with screen readers. So you will notice how properly tagged content makes navigation smoother and clear, while poorly tagged content can be confusing and frustrating to follow. So it is a great way to understand why using the right structure and tags is so important for accessibility. Let's go ahead and check this out. Can we please play the video?
New notification.
So let's look at a quick example of how screen readers actually work with these headings, links, lists, etc.
Demo-File Explorer to move to an item inaccessible version.
So we will go through the inaccessible version first, followed by the accessible version. You will be able to hear JAWS as well as also see the speech output on top of the screen. That is, whatever JAWS is reading out, you'll also be able to see it on the screen.
Enter. Opening -word. Opening -word. Resume reading button. Continue where you left. Maximum. Leave at blank. Health and
So we have this document where we have multiple headings and titles or lists, tables, etc. Now I will go through one by one and show how it behaves with screen reader if it is not rightly tagged. So first, let me start with the headings. So I want to check if there are headings and what are those.
click keys on. No more headings found.
So it reads no more headings found. That is because of the headings not rightly tagged. Let's check with the list.
No lists found.
No list either. Let's check for the tables.
There are no tables in this document.
So it says there are no tables. Now let me check if there are any links available.
Bullet link https://www.myplate.gov/.
So there definitely seems to be one link available, but it is reading as the entire raw URL, so I would not know where this link is going to take me. So now because this document does not have the right tags like headings, lists, tables, etc. What I'll do is I'll move to the top of the page and start moving one by one to know what all it contains.
Top of file. Health and fitness : building a balanced lifestyle. Blank. 1. Why health and fitness matter. Maintaining good health isn't just about looking blank. 2. Key elements of a healthy lifestyle. Bullet: regular physical activity and dash at least.
So here it looks like we have list, we have multiple headings, but visually it looks like one, but doesn't identify by the screen reader.
Bullet at blank. 3. Sample weekly fitness plan. Picture 1 image.
There looks like a table here visually, but because it is taken as a picture or inserted as a picture, you can see it as a table, but for me or for the screen reader user, it only identifies as an image and there is no alternative text. There is no accessible form provided either for this table.
Blank. Tip: adjust duration and intensity based on your fitness level.
So there is this tip provided, which is highlighted for better visibility, but with the screen reader, it is again a normal text, so nothing highlighted rightly for a screen reader user.
Blank. 4. Bullet 8. Bullet blank. 5. Bullet celebrate small blank. Remember: health and fitness is a lot blank.
Same was with the remember point as well. And there were multiple bullet points which were as a list, but none of them were identified as a list. Now let's check the accessible version of the same document and how it makes a difference.
Demo -5. Accessible. Enter. Alert: backup this. Edit. Heading. Leave. Blank. Heading level 1. Restore. Maximize on leaving.
Okay, so I'll do the same thing. I'll try to jump between the headings to see what all headings are there.
Quick keys on. Heading level 2-1. Heading 1: health and fitness: building a balanced lifestyle.
So it reads as heading 1. That is the main title of the document.
Heading level 2-1. Why health and fitness matter.
Again, the hierarchy is rightly set up. It reads as heading 2. That is another heading in this document.
Heading 2. Heading level 2-2. Key elements of a healthy lifestyle.
Same, another sub-point of the same heading.
Heading level 2-3. Sample weekly fitness plan.
So as you can see, I can jump between headings and it makes it very easy for keyboard-only users or screen reader users to jump between different sections and have a quick check of what this document has. Let's check with the lists now.
Heading level 2-1. Why health and fitness matter.
So this is one of the first point, also a heading, but also the first points of the focus directly jumped there.
Maintaining good health isn't blank. Heading level 2-2. Key elements of a healthy lifestyle. Bullet: regular physical activity and dash at least 30 minutes a day. Entering list.
So if you noticed, it read entering list at the enter. That means the list starts here. Now, if the list ends here.
Bullet: adequate sleep. Bullet: hydration and dash drink plenty of water throughout the day. Bullet: stress management and dash through breathing, mindfulness, or hobbies. Blank. Exit list.
It also gives the information that the list exists here. Now I can quickly jump between the lists also.
Heading level 2-3. Heading level 2-4. Entering list. Link. Bullet: world health. Exit list. Out of field. Heading level.
So this is how if the document, if the headings, lists, etc. are rightly tagged, using a screen reader and keyboard, we can quickly jump on it. Now let's see the table.
Weekly fitness schedule. Non-uniform. Out of table. Blank. Weekly fitness schedule, non-uniform table. This table shows a sample weekly fitness plan with days, activities, and duration. New cell, day.
So if you could hear it right and see it on the screen, it read the name of the table, weekly status, schedule, and also a description about what this table contains. So a screen reader user will know exactly what the data they are getting into. Now here, the table is identified by the screen reader. Now, if I want to move row by row or column by column,
Monday, row 2 of 8. Activity. Brisk walking / jogging. Duration. 30 mins. Focus area. Cardio. End of row. Tuesday. Muscle and core strength. Duration. 30 mins.
so it is reading all the information right because the column headers are rightly marked here. The data are associated. So a keyboard user plus a screen reader user can easily identify all the data and can select, choose, search anything that they want to. Now let's check the links.
Quick keys off. Quick keys on. Entering list. Link. Bullet World Health Organization and - physical activity guidelines.
So here we have a link. Also, it is rightly named, as you can see. And here
Head
it
link,
reads
Bullet
World
Health
Health
Organization and -
Organization. So before clicking, I know what or where this link is going to take me.
Link. Bullet Choose My Plate and - healthy eating guide. Link. Bullet CDC and - benefits of physical activity.
Same goes for all the links. Here, one more thing I would like to show you in an inaccessible version of link is how it behaves when the links are presented just as a text.
Inaccessible edit. Blank. Blank. Bullet listen to your blank bullet H4. Use
So we have multiple links here. If I move to the first one,
bullet https://www.news-room/fact-sheets/detail/physical-activity.
though it is a link, but it is not rightly tagged as a link, it is just reading as a text, first of all. So if any keyboard user, even for people who uses mouse, they need to copy the entire address. They cannot just click on it and open the web page. Second, it does not have a descriptive name. So definitely, not only screen reader users, even sighted people would not know where this link is leading to. Let's check the other link.
Bullet link https://www.myplate.gov/.
Here it is identified as a link. That is, it is tagged as a link. I can press enter or click with mouse and directly the web page opens. But again, it is reading the entire raw URL. So the name is not provided.
Bullet link read more.
Here it is tagged as a link. It also have a name, but the name is quite vague. It says read more. So again, no information where this link is leading to. So such issues definitely create a lot of hassle if the styles are not rightly tagged, especially for people using assistive technologies. Thank you.
Accessible version demo-file quick demo.
Thank you, Nitish. So I hope this gave you a little hint about how screen readers work if the semantic tags are rightly done and vice versa. Next slide, please. So before we wrap up, let's take a moment to talk about how you can easily check your work for accessibility issues. So luckily, many tools you already use have built-in accessibility checkers to make this process quick and simple. For example, in Word or PowerPoint, you can find this feature under the Review tab by selecting Check Accessibility. In Canvas, you can look for a small A inside the circle icon at the bottom right of the editor. So that is your accessibility checker. If you use Google Docs, there is a free add-on called Grackle that you can install to scan your documents and make it accessible. For websites, tools like Wave or Axe, browser extensions are super helpful. So these tools automatically highlight common problems like definitely missing alt text for images, incorrect heading orders, proper reading orders, low contrast, etc. Running a quick accessibility check before you post your material or weekly updates, it just takes a minute, and it can save your students or colleagues a lot of confusion and frustrations down the line. So it is a small step that makes a huge difference in creating a welcoming and usable environment for everyone. Next slide, please. So before you hit the publish button, here is a quick and easy checklist to make sure your content is as accessible as possible. First, always use real heading styles instead of just bolding text, because that helps to navigate or structure the document rightly. Make sure your links are meaningful on their own so that everyone knows where exactly it leads to. Keep your color contrast strong so that the text is easier to read, and make sure not to rely on color alone to convey any important information. Adding another cues like labels or patterns can help everyone understand. Use the built-in tools rather than typing symbols to create lists, and only use tables to organize actual data, never for any layout or spacing. Always add proper headers to your table so that the screen reader users can interpret it rightly. Finally, do not forget to run an accessibility checker, which can catch a lot of common issues and save a lot of time and avoid confusion. So just these few simple habits can instantly make your materials more accessible and easier for everyone to use. Next slide, please. So that wraps up our session today, and we covered a lot regarding the semantic tags, etc. I hope you would be walking away with a few simple ideas that you can try out in your materials. And I'm really looking ahead to see you in our upcoming sessions. So our next session, we will be focusing on PDF tagging and how to make your documents easier to navigate and read using assistive technology like what we did today. Before we finish, I would love to hear from you. What is that one small change you might make in your documents after today's session? So feel free to add it in the Q&A, because you might not see the chat session. So thank you once again, everyone, for your time and dedication. Let's open the floor for your Q&A. Thank you.
So we've actually answered all the questions, the ones that came up about sans serif and things like that. There was a question about Outlook email, and Outlook email, Paige Durham did a session, and when we send out give me a minute, when we send the recording of this session, we will also send you the recording of the Outlook email and of all the previous sessions that we've done. So everybody will have them. And we're being reminded by one of the people to use the tools in the different software that you're using. There's document builders, there's all kinds of tools, headings, tables, all kinds of things, the alt text. Please use the built-in tools. All the other questions we already answered. There was one suggestion. One of our colleges is recommending that PowerPoints be 24 plus point, and I'm going to support that because I was at a session last week and it was difficult to read the PowerPoint slides because of where I was sitting in the audience, and a larger font would have helped. So think about how much text you put on your PowerPoint slides, and you may want to make one slide to actually be two instead of one, so that you're able to make the font size a little larger. I believe we have answered all the questions. I will share the questions with Nitesh as well. I do want to thank Survey and our magician behind the scenes, Nitesh. Thank you very much. The one thing I want to remind everybody is that at any point this might feel a lot and overwhelming. So pick one thing a week. 1 week, go through your documents and do the headings on them. Another week, go through, start with your current documents that you're using all the time. Yes, we do have to eventually get to the documents that are older. And as you create documents, make them as accessible as possible. 1 week, do headings in the documents that you're redoing. 1 week, do alt text. 1 week, do the descriptive URLs. 1 week, pay attention to your tables. How do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time. So use the same approach for this as well. Please join me in thanking Survey, and we will get the recording out to you by the end of the day tomorrow. Thank you all.
Thank you.